Hey, it's GTFO, episode 4. I am Phia,
And this is Louie.
and we're coming to talk about whatever the fuck we want.
Get the fuck out, really?
Yeah, we're just like almost every topic it has get the fuck out all over it.
That's right. That's right.
I've been watching a lot of Netflix lately.
Yeah? What have you been watching?
Yeah. So there's this comedian named Adam Conover. Have you ever seen his stuff?
I have not.
He has a whole like true TV, and it's basically Adam ruins everything. And they're kind of small, tolerable episodes, anything from marriage, sex to the internet. And so I'm 38 years old, and I'm sitting there thinking I know everything until I watch this cute little show. And it's a lot of it I know, but there's something in every episode you can learn from. And I don't know, like the hymen on a woman. I always thought it was like also like the football field and the cheerleaders holding the sign and the guys run through it.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
like a Coke can that opens your virginity.
yeah.
I have always thought that. Do you think that's what the hymen is?
No, no,
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I was one of the majority
yeah,
who really does think it like that we come with this built-in like, oh, you're not a virgin anymore, and you can get tested for that, like, oh, she's not, but it's not at all. And so I'm kind of relieved to hear that for my daughter. I'm going to teach her right. It's more like an arch of balloons more than a broken seal. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's so good that you knew, Louie, that's good.
Well, I kind of knew. My ex had actually, um, she was an athlete in high school, so um, she had actually burst hers through through athletics. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's not, yeah, it's not like you said, it's not just like this wall there. It's like it's different things can, definitely affect the health down there obviously as well. So
But like popping your cherry, like these things we grow up with, I thought it was, and I took health class, and I think there are people with college degrees who don't know this.
yeah,
I didn't
well,
know.
there's people with college degrees that don't know all kinds of shit. Let's be
That's
real.
true. Isn't that frightening?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, do you have your degree?
No, I just have a medical assisting diploma from watching a commercial in Texas right out of high school. I didn't have parents smart enough to stop me, so I paid as much as a nursing degree, associates in nursing
Yeah,
in '98 than I did. Now, if I were to do that same program now, it's triple the price. So it would be something that should be vehemently opposed to these schools, these
right,
technical schools.
right.
They're just way too expensive. And if people knew that, you could just go to community college and get a certificate in anything over that. You'd save a
Yeah,
lot of money and heartache.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I don't have mine either, but I've always worked in, in this healthcare field where I work with everyone who's got, you know, at least a
Yeah.
bachelor's and then a master's. And for whatever reason, I've had barriers here or there that have stopped me from finishing my degree. And then partially it's my own interest. I think I've gotten bored with that type of thing. And to be honest, taking classes now is kind of torture, even though I'm still trying to finish up a degree.
What
I
degree are you
think,
trying to finish?
I think that's part of the problem is I keep changing it.
Yeah.
But right now it's healthcare administration,
Of
but
course.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that, to be honest. It's running healthcare clinics. I think that's one of the problems too. Is like the degree names. Unless you have the degree, you don't even necessarily know what it means.
Yeah.
You know,
You could be
to
doing
me,
the job that
yeah, yeah,
somebody in school right now wants to do, and you've been doing it.
right,
You and I could manage a clinic in the heartbeat without the
right,
degree, and
right.
better than someone who's just coming out of school in that.
Oh, absolutely. I had an experience working with a 25-year-old um, nice lady that she was. And this is this is trigger alert, but but essentially she's definitely a white privilege uh, example, and a perfect example of white privilege, if you will. Um, she was able to go through, get her bachelor's degree, go through and get her master's without really working. She did like volunteer stuff, so she was very I can't think of another word besides privilege, just very much able to do whatever she wanted. And then she walked in, with her master's, expecting to be a director at this company I worked at, and it was an interesting thing that happened because she didn't just get the job handed to her, and I think that was the first time that didn't happen, and
Yeah.
it made me kind of happy to see that though, because
Yeah.
it does show that experience is also valuable, and you have to be able to work with people and understand things in a practical setting outside of just that classroom application. Being able to grasp a concept and being able to actually talk to people and execute on something are completely different things. So
And people are hateful. Like, frankly, I was a sales rep for an insurance company. We mostly managed Medicaid. And then one of the expectations in the state contracting of doing that for them as an entity was care coordination. So if you had that particular Medicaid, you had a care coordinator. So these teams of care coordinators early on was a mixed bag. It used to be a few, medical assistants that were like level 1 care coordinators, but for a while there it was, we were restructuring, you have to have a degree, you need to be a nurse or a social worker. And so I remember amongst a group of mostly women who are care coordinators and a couple men being catty about their leadership, up in Albuquerque
yeah,
because, oh, well, their degree's in psychology. And can you believe their daughter lives in Louisiana? And I just thought, people are mean. Even amongst your achieving
yeah,
section of society with good jobs, they're
yep,
cutthroat. They judge one another, they tier, they snub depending on where you went and what you do. And I could
right,
tell they're implying was they're not even fit to be the supervisor of the team. And I just think it's just
right,
stupid as fuck. I mean, it's like high school all over again, but worse.
exactly. Exactly. No, I completely agree. And I saw that same thing happening. I worked with some social workers, and it was an odd thing, though, because we worked in a government programs department. Um, and I was privy to this conversation between these two social workers. They're talking about the behavioral health needs of the population. And they essentially came out and said, oh, well, we don't really think we don't really need psychologists, for anything. We don't even need them as part of the contract, right? And I'm thinking, wait a second, you guys are social workers,
Yep.
meaning you have a lesser degree than that psychologist. Is there some sort of catty club against,
Yes.
like psychologists versus social work?
Sociology. Yeah, there's got
Yeah,
to be that you and I were observing. I don't even
yeah,
know how people like you and I, and now we're talking about it. It's fodder for what we're doing together as a
right.
podcast duo.
Yeah,
But it's
yep,
funny how we were, as you said, privy to some of these conversations that just make you pause. Like,
yep,
physical therapy versus chiropractic. Well, they're physicians. Well, now they're DPTs. Like, get the fuck out of here.
yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely,
Why don't we all just try
absolutely.
being fucking human?
Right, right. You're absolutely
One
right.
of the other episodes Adam ruins everything. I hope everybody takes time out if you have access to Netflix and you can hear my voice. Take some time out and watch that. I pretty much am going to make my kids before they move out because it just puts them that much ahead of the race in knowledge instead of being
Yeah,
stuck in the faults. Like, you just are so stuck in human development anyway, and then society. It'd be nice to just be ahead, right? Like, oh, I don't need to hear that, right? Shut it down. But
right.
one of his other things that pissed me off actually was, in the USA, we pay a lot of money, probably, 40 to $80, depending on who you're with, for internet access in your house and Wi-Fi, the
Yeah,
modem, all that. Well, in
yeah,
Korea, they can download like a high def full movie in like 8 seconds. We
okay,
pay for substandard access to the web as a country, and just don't know it. We're just ignorant. And we pay a lot of
yeah,
money for it collectively. Like they pay a tenth of what we do. And so it's just infuriating. We're not free. Like this, we are not free. We think we are. We talk about it. We sing, we kneel or we don't kneel, but it's all just a big farce.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. I think it's bizarre to me how it's essentially a monopoly in most areas too for high speed internet. In
Yeah.
my neighborhood, you can get the cable company up here to do it for, I don't know, like $60 a month, or you can sign up for the what's the one step down? Um, I can't even remember, but it's essentially the telephone company
Yep.
that also has the monopoly up here. You can get it
Yes.
through them for like $10 less a month, and the speed is significantly
And
slower.
it was decided behind closed doors, like in the 90s. Like this, we've been this way a while. While technology, we should all be on fiber optics now. Like this is
Right.
ridiculous.
Well, to that exact point, Fia, the whole thing about you know competition
Hmm.
is what drives the price down for things. That's why, like, for example, Netflix is so popular because it created a way to get television for cheap. You know, honestly, since they started their streaming services, I haven't even had cable TV.
Me either.
Um, you know, it's been Netflix, and then I added Hulu that I've got,
Me
and
too.
it's still, so that's like $22 a month or something. I think because I do the upgraded Hulu with less commercials, right?
Me too. Yeah,
And
$11 and change. It's worth
yeah,
it.
it's awesome. Yeah, oh, it's totally worth it. And to me, it's amazing because I was paying, I don't know, like $95 a month for
Yeah.
cable, and I hated it. I hated most of the channels. I would watch the same three or four channels all the time. It was a total waste of time.
Yeah.
And now, like, I feel like Netflix is changing. It's just changing the way that we're watching television as a country. We're
Yeah.
binge watching shows, and that's probably not as quite as healthy as
No.
as it as binging anything else, right? It's just not
Right.
not a healthy habit to get into. But that's a whole other story, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So
Well,
no, I think you're absolutely right, though.
I believe, and I'm not an actor, actress, whatever, actra, homo sapien, artist, but I think I can observe peripherally that I believe Netflix is even changing, and Hulu, how they're producing things. Like it's changing Hollywood. These people have,
Yeah.
you see quite a few of the popular folks jumping on to do movies there, and they're doing well. There's no restriction. There's no, it's kind of cool to watch and not really understand that industry at all, of course, but
Right.
they seem
Right.
like it's changing. It's breaking up a lot of old thinking and a lot of old ways and a lot of access dirty old men had to everybody. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely correct on that. The way that they're able to produce shows and movies now on not just Netflix but Amazon Prime and Hulu.
Yeah.
It's getting
Those
amazing.
three, like they're just quality. But like
Yeah.
unless you're in a hotel, like for me, I forgot what it's like to just be subject to the TV, and now you can at least pause it, I think, and fast forward, but you and I
Right.
had to literally watch Star Trek and wait, through commercials that we didn't give a shit about the things on there. But,
Exactly.
Facebook and Google sells our stuff. I don't care. I want to see shit I'm interested in. It's not scary to me. It's better than what we used to have, which was just vomiting of crap we're not interested in. If I was in my baby making stage, I want to see shit about babies. If I'm old, I want to see shit about Metamucil. But when we were younger, you had to watch it all
Yeah.
with your
No, you're absolutely
parents.
right. I do disagree with I don't I have it turned off on Facebook so they can't send me targeted ads.
Hmm.
Um, Mostly because I found them really obnoxious. For example, I had started planning a trip to Legoland with my kids, and just because I Googled it once, suddenly
Yep.
I had a freaking Legoland ad every time I scrolled in Facebook. And I'm like, no, I don't need to see this every freaking time.
And your
So,
phone and like
yeah,
wherever your radio, like what? Like
exactly. How'd they do that? Exactly. And,
getting
and so,
mailers, like
right, right.
coupons for Legoland.
Exactly. To me, it's almost I would compare it to several years ago. I bought a few Pandora charms for some people, not anyone I was romantically involved with, um, and and the jewelry company still sends me a
Yep.
freaking Pandora charm catalog every couple months, and I'm like, I've called them even, and I've told them, hey, that was really a one-time thing.
Yep.
I'm not. It's not my top priority to buy those any longer. You could save these catalogs, but so I guess I look at it as something similar to that. It's like they can only do with what they know about you, right? And so so if I Google Legoland, they're going to do that. If I
Yeah.
Google, Chipotle, I'm going to get a bunch of Chipotle
Yeah.
ads, and and I guess for me, that's why I love Netflix too. Is there's no
Yes.
ads.
Yes.
That's what
We're
makes me so
spoiled.
happy.
And I want to talk about that. And here's another topic, I'm not into, I'm not a marketer when it comes, I didn't go to school for advertising and, that Mad Men series and
Right.
how on earth do they make money? I mean, I think most people are like you and me. I don't like them either. It doesn't bother me, is what I said. It's annoying, but I'm at peace with the fact that that's how they make money. They sell my info. I don't care. Okay. I'm an open book anyway, but some people are private or they don't want to be bothered. It makes you wonder
Right.
how anyone makes money because there's this discipline of marketing, right? They've got statistics. Well, if we blast 10,000 mailers weekly, they go in
Yeah.
the garbage. I mean, is somebody not telling these
That's right.
authorities that we are not buying? I mean, the companies pay a lot of money for that exposure, but it mostly goes in the trash. And so it's the biggest scam to me. And I worked for an advertising agency a little bit this year, and the guy that ran it set himself out as this, you know, authority on the matter. Like, well, direct marketing doesn't work or direct mail doesn't work. And you know what? What I've noticed as being self-employed twice in my life, 10 years ago and then right now, yeah, it doesn't work. And so it's just about a false hope. Like I'm going to spend my last 1,000 on this mailer and I hope someone calls me or buys my stuff or comes into my restaurant and what really works is free. It's word of mouth. But they don't want you to know that. So we're succumbing to these commercials and the mailers, and if you're going to go to Legoland, you're fucking going to go to Legoland.
Right.
If you're going to buy
Exactly.
Pandora, and yet these old tired practices and the waste of money are good for the
Yep.
advertising folks, but in the reality it's not hitting a lot of us. They're targeting us, but we're like ambivalent to it.
Right. That's
Don't call me, I'll
absolutely.
call you. And it's just annoying. Like who even comes up with these? It's almost like the world's behind. Like, hey, that doesn't work. I'm watching
Yeah.
Netflix, I don't care about the billboard. Even billboards, like it's like really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I will say it's kind of a weird way that things are trending because how do you find out about new things sometimes, right? For me, usually it's word of mouth.
Yep.
I'll see like an actual article on something that I'm interested in doing, um, or on a product that I'm interested in purchasing. But again, like you were just saying, I will seek it out. It's
Yes.
not going to happen. I'm not going to book a vacation based on a fucking banner ad.
Yep.
That's not going to happen.
You either have
As
money or
much
you don't. You either need something or you
exactly,
don't. It's not really
Exactly.
science. And I hate the fact that now that I'm 38, I can see clearly if you're struggling or you're hurting or you own a business and you need customers or you're going to go out of business or you're not going to be able to pay your bills, there's that's
Yeah.
where the money is exploiting people that don't have any, like the credit consolidation and all of that is just more and more taking from the have-nots, and I don't understand it. I don't understand how that people continue to be in business and do that, and it's just how the rich get richer.
Right. And I feel like we're on the precipice of a discussion around socialism, is what this sounds like.
Maybe. Here we go. Get
But
the fuck out. Probably.
get the fuck out of here.
Maybe that's a
I don't
good
know.
segue.
Good segue.
Ha ha ha. We set everyone up. This is where we were going the whole time.
Who knew? Who
Go.
knew? I don't know. Yeah, so speaking on the topic of socialism, since we did stumble
Oops. I
upon it,
stepped in it.
yeah, for me, so I look at socialism as essentially, healthcare is where it needs to happen first. Um,
Absolutely.
you know, I just believe that we all have a right to healthcare. I don't care who you are. If you're diabetic and you lose your job, you shouldn't have to worry about buying your medication. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It granted, things like diabetes are absolutely based on a lot of life choices that end up there. If it's type 2 diabetes,
Yep.
um, but people are also genetically predisposed to it.
Yes.
Um, so it's not always based on your decisions. It's I have my grandfather's wife is pre-diabetic, and she's extremely healthy. She
Yep.
exercises every day, has a really good diet, and but her genetics predispose her to it. So yeah, she's well within healthy weight. I when I hear about people being really judgmental about, oh well, you got that way because you're fat and you eat too much and
Soda pop.
this and that. Well, yeah, it's ridiculous for one. Stop being judgmental,
Yeah.
right? And then I always remember, my I guess step grandmother, and her, the way her path has been. She's doing well managing it because of her status, but she still has to find things because her blood sugar will still go, way out of whack sometimes just because of eating this, that, or the other, and it's just amazing to me that we judge people so harshly on stuff like that they don't necessarily have control over, or their culture that they come
Yeah.
from encourages that type of eating and that type of stuff, that would damage their health. And so yeah, I believe we all have a right to it. I
Me
can't.
too, but look where we work. We have a front row seat. Despite your
Oh yeah.
religion, despite your political views, universally, if you're sitting where we're sitting,
Right.
there's no other where to go than if you want to call it socialism, fine. I call it common sense, if we're, it sounds like Bernie, but if we're in the most, wealthiest land, with the slowest internet, but in the most wealthiest land, you
Yeah.
mentioned having type 2 diabetes and losing your job. Hell, what about being able to maintain your job, but you're losing your goddamn feet or legs? And,
Right. Exactly.
I share people's frustration of, I didn't choose to sit around smoking. I don't want to, Matt Man, my fiance, is a smoker and he's treated
Yeah.
like a villain. I mean, they can't, very short time ago, they could smoke anywhere. Now it's like 5 feet from the hospital, no 30, no 100. Like
Yeah.
they are, that campaign is very effective. And you're right. I don't want to pay for his lungs, but I joke all the time about, when he points to a loving old couple, I say, except you'll have your oxygen tank. I don't ever miss a beat to remind him that his choices are going to
Yeah.
affect me down the road and I don't appreciate it. And so I share the
Right.
angst. But you can also wake up to the fact that one day it could be you and you don't get to choose what it is. Fibromyalgia. They feed us garbage. The Federal Drug Administration and big agriculture don't care about you. Then you buy the shit that you're seeing thinking it's good for you. Then it's just this cycle of unfairness, which life is not fair, god damn it. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
why don't we at least have access to healthcare, right?
right. Exactly. And so to me, I do agree, like that distribution of wealth doesn't jive with the way I was raised, because I don't believe that it makes sense that, someone who worked hard and was extremely intelligent, was a great entrepreneur, should have their money just distributed to people who are not working as hard
Yeah.
or are not, innovators. Um, the part of that I do disagree with is the gap that ends up being created.
Yeah.
I've worked with some people that make probably upwards of $400,000-$500,000 a year, and the work that they produce is insanely poor quality or low. I
Yeah.
I look at that and I go, man, that doesn't make any damn sense.
Preach.
I'm working my yeah yeah I'm working my ass off, and probably the lack of degree doesn't help, right? But but uh, but essentially, I work my ass off, and I get I get a good salary. I'm not complaining about my salary too much, but the fact is, I the people who do the major lift, the majority of the lift, are the ones making just over minimum wage.
Yep, that's right.
They're the one. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me for a lot of those people. Again, I would never take it away from a doctor that a
No.
doctor earned a good salary. They went through school, they did their residencies, they're set up. They should make a good salary to be able to live nicely. Um, but it doesn't make sense to me that a medical assistant makes $13 an hour and the doctor makes 100.
It's like
It,
10 still since 1998.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have a cousin that's a medical assistant, and I think now that she's been doing it for over a year, I think she got a little raise
Good.
with the company she's working for, but it's still, nowhere near, and again, I don't think it should be what a doctor
No.
makes, but
She should be
a
able to
medical
take care of
assistant,
herself or, pay
yeah,
her
or her
student loan
family,
and
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
come on. Why is that socialist? Like, why are we called socialists for that? I don't understand that at all.
right.
It's
Well,
not about
and I think,
redistribution. It's about taking care of one another and we're all
yeah,
working. Like, we're not all a bunch of lazy people. I don't know why people go there or like, well, he went to school. You see really poor people who are on welfare defending
yeah,
doctors
yeah,
and CEOs. And I don't understand that at all. Like, who the fuck do you
yeah,
think is paying for you? They're not. They're not paying any taxes and they're bragging about it. So give me a
yeah,
break.
yeah. No, I think the thing that that has led to this is honestly just how corporate America functions when
Yeah.
it comes to raises
They
and
just cut
hiring
back.
people.
They'll just cut back like
Yeah,
10% one day for no like, oh, let's save money. I know, let's fire people. They don't care about you.
yeah, exactly. Well, and then the thing that really is the kicker, Fia, is even if you're with a company for 10 years, every year you might get a 1% raise, 2% raise,
3,
three
yeah.
percent raise. But then guess what? The people at the top also get a 2% raise,
10.
3% raise. Yeah,
They didn't
exactly.
do
And
anything.
and
They
then
showed up to meetings. People at the top go to meetings. Spoiler alert.
they go to. I
I
know, I
married
know.
somebody once at the top. They just are in meetings all day.
Yeah. Hey, I hear you. That's mostly my day. Not to say that I'm at the top,
You're yeah,
but
you're a cog in the machine.
exactly.
So
But yeah, but I think that the weird thing that nobody's looking at is if you give 3% raises across the board, those people who make $200,000 a year are getting a hell of a lot better raise than the one making 13.50 an
yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot to swallow, in my opinion.
And
But
it's like taxes. I mean, there's raises, but taxes, like you and I feel it. Like we feel it. If you're in a bracket, you're screwed. Like if you're married, it's that income plus yours. You're both screwed. And all I'm
yep,
asking for is to not have to worry about my health care for me and my kids. Like I'm paying, I want reasonable higher education and affordable health care. That's it. And the fact that we have Affordable Health Care Act that went through, we've only been at that, this is year 4, it's going to be. And they're trying to
right.
dismantle some basic fundamentals of that is really disheartening. I mean, I wonder what the Supreme Court Justice's insurance looks like. We just got a new one. What's his name?
Yep, yep.
Let's see.
Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Oh my God. Get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here. Well,
he was he was freshly confirmed this morning.
that's right. Freshly confirmed. We have a new Supreme Court justice. And, I don't think I'm from the generation that's one of the most educated because the systematic dumbing down of America has been prevalent for, 20, 30 years. But that's a big deal. That's not just any fucking job in our government. That's a big deal.
Right.
Those are where, slavery's eradicated, abortion's legal. This is a big deal. It's a big job. It's a lifetime appointment.
Right.
And I'm
You're
not a
absolutely
big
right.
fan of Trump, but he's our president and I have respect for the office. And if he's got a list of motherfuckers, why does it got to be this one motherfucker? It's just stupid to me. I don't get it. I just think he should have himself just said, I don't want to bring scandal. He's going to be the bunt of jokes his entire reign on the bench. He is going to be harassed his entire. Does he really want that?
I, I don't know. I think. Well, so, and what are you referring to that he'll be the blunt of jokes? Just because? Well, not to say just because of the
Yeah.
Dr. Blasey Ford allegation.
Yeah, so if you are hearing my voice and you look at Urban Dictionary and look up Kavanaugh or Kavanaugh, there are about 7 definitions of that go both ways. Being falsely accused, oh hey, this girl Kavanaugh'd me the other day, or of
Yeah.
actually being binge drunky and like putting your dick in someone's face. Oh, I Kavanaugh'd this girl at a party. There are so many jokes springing from the well of Brett Kavanaugh that it's not, then again, our attention span, as a nation, I mean, people were shot in a concert in Vegas last year and those victims are all upset that nobody cares anymore. So I don't know if this will be an ongoing thing, but the guy could have just, had a little compassion on that woman, even if she was supposedly a drone and not real. He could have at least, had a little more integrity because he's going to be, dictating from a very high position. And they're going to be voting this week on those healthcare measures, by the way, on Tuesday. He's getting right to work with this new role with his peers in that office. And I have a really bad feeling they're going to reverse that pre-existing condition thing, which the insurance side of me says, yay, but I know better. That's not human.
Right.
Like that's inhumane.
It really is. The pre-existing condition clause of any insurance is bullshit. That's the whole point of insurance. Even if it existed, guess what? You're picking up that person. Get over it. I can't believe that that's really a thing that could be overturned.
Yeah.
I hope that it's not.
Well, I'll find out Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because they'll have voted Tuesday.
Right. I think you're correct when you said that, as I don't know if it's just Americans or all over the world at this point, we the attention spans are just shit. I mean, I kind of feel like mine is, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of worry about the length of our podcasts even because
it's 34
minutes.
Now.
Yeah, I know we're 34 minutes now, right?
But we better wrap it up.
This topic is not over yet. Calm it down. But So the thing that I had the issue with Kavanaugh is I felt like there was a lot of like the sky is falling kind of comments coming from people that they didn't really understand, what he even said on certain topics. For example, Roe v. Wade, which really legalized abortion and a woman's right to choose.
And have access to that procedure without being in a dark alley or somebody's shady
Right.
home.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to
Exactly.
happen whether or not they overturn that or not. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely are. And I think the whole thing is, Brett Kavanaugh has said he really respects that precedent is a not president, but precedent is
oh, he respects the president all right.
yeah, which I don't know if he does, but that essentially, it's very important to respect precedent
Yeah,
and make sure that things like that are protected. I was trying to find the quote before we started talking, but essentially, even the most recent cases where uh, where gay marriage was legalized was a huge thing that the statement was really well written, and I wish I could have found it, but essentially it said that that gays and lesbians are no longer going to be treated like they're second class citizens, that they need the same rights, they need to be able to do the same things, and he actually cited that statement, and I believe it was written by Justice Kennedy, um, and said that that was very important to him. That these statements are, these rulings are taken into consideration. So
that's
I
good. That's
I think
heartening.
yeah, and so to me, I feel like there's a lot of like the sky is falling, and there's like a fear that his whole point is going to go up there to overturn Roe v. Wade, and I don't really think that's going to happen. Um, I think that it would take a lot more than any single person, and unless he's a complete and utter liar, I don't see how it could match with what he
Possibly.
said.
Or he's so good at denial that he's lived this clean life, it erased his memories of any other. But I don't think he's a
Right,
bad guy. I don't think that
right,
lady was lying. I don't
yeah,
like the circus that is our government at the moment. And
yeah,
let's just be really honest. There was a vacant seat under Obama's tenure for 10 fucking months. And they didn't even
yeah,
bother appointing because those Republicans already said it. We don't care who you say, we're blocking them. So give me a
yeah,
break. So
yeah,
Scott, bring on
yeah,
the sky is falling and criticize that as if we're all ignoring the nursery
yeah,
school
yeah,
behavior of the other side. They're all just a bunch of hypocrites. Both sides are tools.
yeah.
My friends and
No, I
feminists, I
agree.
love you all. I go back and forth depending on the situation. And I do think his appointment is a fuck you to victims. I don't think it was handled well. I don't think they give a fuck, and that was clear and made fun of on Saturday Night Live. They don't care. They do not care. There is an agenda, and this is not new. This is not new.
I, so to be devil's advocate, I actually disagree. I don't think that it was a fuck you to victims. I don't know. I watched Dr. Blasey Ford's testimony, the entire thing, and then I watched it again with a
Commentary.
body language, yeah, with a body language expert, and then I watched it again with another body language expert, because quite frankly, our system is fucked up so much that our news system, I hate to say this, but I feel like Trump is onto something with the fake
Yeah, he
news
is.
statement, because it essentially goes both
It
ways, right?
does.
Like we've got fake news with on the CNN side leaning to the left. We got Fox leaning to the right. It's absolutely fake on both sides. You have to be able to
Yeah, be
wade
smart.
through the shit to find anything. And anyway, so I watched it. I admittedly didn't watch the whole thing 3 times, but but I did
Good.
watch
I
a
was worried
lot.
about you.
Yeah, because I was going back and forth, and I'm like, I to be honest, so I shared I was the victim of some sexual assault, and to me, my response was, a very freeze kind of response. So, I could kind of see what was going on, when she was talking about what happened, but at the same time, I found a lot of just errors in her story.
Mm.
I completely get what she's saying, but she's pulling out this example of a party where there's multiple people, that there's a person who drove her home, that uh, there's just no corroboration. And so the cop son in me looks at that and goes, man, there's just nothing that connects her story with what she's saying. It's like I've been, growing up, I lied. I lied to my parents. And it feels like that's what this is to
I
me.
feel bad
And
that you feel that way. It's okay, but I don't think
yeah,
she
no,
would fly. She hates flying. Should go all the way over there to do that. She's not trying to not get him appointed. She's just trying to say, "Hey, he's got some issues," and that was high school. So
yeah,
I hate the fact that we're debating something in this man's resume
yeah,
that would never even show up. If he had social media, it'd be a whole nother story.
yeah,
This would be great. We'd have people like, look, I have a picture from memories. We don't have that,
right,
so he can get away with anything, and I hate that shit. And it doesn't matter. It wasn't there for her to be on a witch hunt. I she was a
right,
liar. She believes her story. She believes her. I believe her
correct.
that she believes that happened to her and that it was him. But then there are these other women in college, and he's like, no, I never. They were all Yale graduates were lighting each other up with, oh my God, did you
Right.
see Brett? So that to me is
Yeah.
more troubling than Mrs. Ford, Dr. Ford. And so we all debate whether she's telling the truth when that's not the issue here. That's not something somebody would just go out of their way to do or get paid to do. Not her, not at her
I,
age.
I gotta disagree, mostly because she's a very dominant. Not, I mean, maybe dominant is not the right word. She's definitely, she's definitely a well-known Democrat, though.
Yes. In
She's got
what, Berkeley or some
pictures.
shit? Like
Yeah. She's got pictures. There's pictures of her all over the place with different, Democratic
feminists.
leaders,
Yeah.
including, well, even Bill Clinton. And, and so to me, the
She
timing
tried
is
to get it
just
out, and then like that girl, that old one, what's her name, Feinstein or whoever, was like, "Oh." Then they put it
right.
out, and like, "Well, we didn't do it." So
Right.
I mean, yes, there's some shady shit, but as a human, I just don't think it's her. Like she wasn't. They were the ones
Yeah.
pushing her. She's a pawn. They're both fucking tools. Get the fuck out.
They're tools.
I am a
I think,
tool
yeah.
every day in a different way.
No, we're not
Oh,
tools. I don't know.
we are handy motherfucking tools. We're like the ones that are good for 5 different functions that never break. But we are tools.
No, I don't, and it's not that I don't. And so I guess I did say I don't believe her.
That's okay if
Um,
you don't.
and and I guess I don't, just because of the story doesn't match in my, from what I see. Looking. So again, I sat through
Yeah.
the body language experts. The ones that described her as being really sincere didn't appeal to me quite as much, or maybe they didn't appeal to my sense of logic very much. The one that was kind of against her did present. She is a doctor of
Psychology.
psychology,
Yeah.
right? So she understands human behavior, and so to me, they kept saying she was doing this thing called pretty pose, where she would essentially kind of rock
Stay
back and
calm.
forth,
Yeah.
and stay calm, in her voice
What
was like,
about him though? What was that? What did the body
no,
language guys them say about him? That it was all fine and okay, like because he's being
no, no, they said that he was absolutely,
defensive.
definitely very defensive. That he was, and they said that, I mean, he's being accused of attempted rape. So, I mean, to be honest, I would be pretty defensive.
I wouldn't.
But I guess I absolutely, I do agree, actually, there was a very good post that I saw on Facebook of all places,
Woo,
but
Facebook.
it was I know, right? It was the best one that I saw though, describing essentially Kavanaugh's demeanor, um, even if well, especially if it was incorrect, this allegation against him. If he's a Supreme Court justice, he should be
Yep.
cool and calm the entire time. And I completely agree with that. He went out there and he was showing a lot of
He was
emotion.
a fucking
He was also
jock.
playing a fucking game.
Yes.
He's out there talking about his dad getting choked up, talking about his planners.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so no,
Which
stop
kind of
it. So to
incriminated
be honest,
him, which is so stupid. Like, all of it.
I just felt like both of them were kind of
It's a
bullshit. And
circus.
and so yeah, and to be honest, like it also kind of makes me go back to my childhood when I was
Yeah.
15 to 17, and I think about like I never went to parties like that. I never drank at
We weren't
parties.
at country
Uh,
clubs, or we would have been, Louie. You and I would have been tearing it up. And I was older, so you would have tried to date rape me in a heartbeat.
you would have tried to date rape
Yeah,
me.
I
Let's
would
get this
have.
straight.
I would have totally like Polaroided that shit with my girlfriends. And I'd be in a sorority too for show. Like Elle Woods. We can't relate to them. Neither of them. And they are in a game that you and I will never even. God, I hope I get elected to something so they can show my sexual resume and I'd be like, yeah, I fucked that guy, I think. Yeah, I totally. I remember when the Winter Olympics was going on, I was living in Salt Lake with an open marriage, and I remember feeling like giving up on the whole mythos of having this Latino lover. I thought, well, I'll just go international. So I'm like, I'm going to find somebody from every country. And I got so far as like Ireland and Turkey before I started to think that was dumb, like right away. Like it just felt meaningless and stupid. But I remember the experiences, and nobody was date raped. It was all consensual. But if I were to ever run for office, these motherfuckers would be like, I know her. But I would never even try to be a Supreme Court, or I would definitely try to be a Beto O'Rourke, that guy in Texas. They're digging up his rock band and shit, and oh yeah, I'd be all over the place. Like, she's a whore. Like, I am a whore. God damn it. But I understand both sides: conservative monogamy and polyamory. Never mind.
Yeah. I think what you're getting at there is it kind of leads to what I was thinking, and we could kind of touched on this before. Like, it's easier for women to be in control of those situations. So like being able to go out and for lack of a better word, be a slut, be promiscuous, do whatever you want. You're in control of that. So again, like tying back to my childhood, like I mentioned before, I was very awkward, with women and then men as well, and so to me, it's a hard thing to balance.
Again,
it's
a cop's son in a hardworking, what is it, blue collar situation. My dad's an airplane mechanic. We're from different worlds. Yep. The Blasey Ford women, they know they need to be educated and marry someone high up. Yep. And Kavanaugh married a woman who is my friend's acquaintance. Like, she knows her very well and just vouches for Kavanaugh's wife. Like, she's salt of the earth and her family. Well, Kavanaugh calculatedly married her. Okay, like they know their place, and he's from a different world than us. He's definitely from, what was the movie they were talking about, like with the movies from the 80s, like Breakfast Club and that generation. Yeah. Like, he was a well-to-do jock. They did act that way from Yale, the high school, the boys' school. They are groomed for that role, and so that's why we can't even relate. Like, socially awkward. Well, not to him. He knew what he was doing. She knew why she was there, to be the mousy, but she didn't expect to have that encounter or not have it. It was a different time. There was no social media. Things are changing. That's the beautiful thing about time, is it's slow to me, but once it's done, this is only a matter of time where this situation it'll be obsolete. There will be no more, there is going to be a
Right.
record for when we're old people and we're in charge of this country. There will be people
Yep.
with integrity, and there will be people with records and real people to represent us. So I'm hopeful.
I hope
Not
so
just a
too.
bunch of old white guys with old ideas and social economic
Right.
differences.
So I do want to say something about what you just said there. It's kind of interesting, right? I was listening to what is his name? I'll try and find his name while I talk, but he's a radio show host, a African American, um, and he was talking about how like there during a lot of this stuff there were during the allegations with Blasey Ford and Kavanaugh, there was a lot of news that was coming out about the old white guys and old
Yeah.
and it was so and he was in pretty irate about it because it's like, what does that have to do with this? It doesn't. She's white, he's white. It's not like it was an old white man trying to keep down a black woman or something along those lines, right?
It's
And
because it's
oh wait,
annoying. It's annoying that there are
well,
good black men
but,
who could be judges and aren't even on the
yeah,
list.
right. But so it was Larry Elders that was
Oh,
who I was listening
yeah.
to. And so he went through a long list of great things that happened. When the Supreme Court was a lot of old white men. For example, the abolishment of slavery.
That's right. It's
For
true.
you know, yeah, equality in general in the '60s. It was
Because
all
the law is
old white
pure,
men.
supposedly, and justice is blind,
Right,
supposedly. So we want to keep it
right,
that way at the highest courts in our country.
yeah. And I think that and I agree. I mean, there could I feel that we probably needed another woman on the Supreme Court rather than
Totally.
um, yeah than rather than
So you're right.
Kavanaugh.
Everybody's right. That's
But
my problem. I'm kind of
yeah,
lukewarm, and I don't like, nobody wants to be around someone like me.
yeah,
They agree with everything. Like,
no,
yeah, well, I
I do.
understand.
I do. Yeah, yeah, no. And I think that's the problem with real people like us, that we see what is important to other people, and we can also sympathize and we can connect with that, and that's what we need more
Yeah.
of in this country right now. I feel like right now it's divided by, we've got extreme people on the left and extreme people on the right, and they're the ones that are getting all the
Yes.
coverage. And because they're also doing weird extreme things, they're out in the streets and they're screaming at senators and they're screaming at over things that really are not, in my opinion, valid. Because, like I said before, a lot of the things that they're screaming about are uneducated
How do
fears.
they have
That
jobs? Like, I just love
right. That's what I
protesters. I
want to know.
just don't ever go because I'm not going to make a difference going
Right.
out in the street. I could get shot, ran over. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And I hear you. I think that it was interesting during the women's protests right after Trump got elected, right?
Yeah.
So, did you go to
I
one of those?
didn't.
Just
I have a lot of friends who
before I
did,
talk.
and they have the pussy hats. Hymen's
Right.
intact.
So, but I was asking, I didn't quite understand what they were protesting. I guess it was just about him, is what I was
Probably. And just
kind
like
of
the
interested
incessant, like, drumming of, the hypocrisy of, oh, here we elected this man who's on his third marriage, who's cheated on the most beautiful woman he's married to, and pays them
Yeah,
off, and grabs them by the, like, we have audio, and he's just a despicable guy, but he's our president, so they're mad about it. Like, they want someone like Obama,
yeah,
who was a piece of shit to everyone else but was married to one person, and if he did cheat, never got caught.
right,
Or it's just
right.
like, that's my whole thing, is if you're gonna they're both sides, I think, have an agenda, and I really think behind closed doors they're all just jerking each other off. They don't give a shit about us.
Right.
And so if you're out there with your
I
pussy
agree.
hat, it's powerful and beautiful, but things are the way they are, and they will only change in their own time. And I don't think we have a lot of power to like affect change. I'm sure people are like, that's not true. I don't care. That's why I'm on the podcast and
I
you're not.
yeah. I think that just to to plug in one more thing about protesting, I don't think that it's helpful. I feel like it's back in the day it absolutely civil discourse had a huge impact. I feel like nowadays it's better if you write and you get people on your side. But again, like tying back to what I said a minute ago, I think both of these extreme sides, they don't care. They're not going to change their ways no matter what. You know, if some of these people who completely opposed Kavanaugh had gone and they talked to some of those senators and tried to get them to see their point, I think that would have been a better way to do it rather than screaming in them at the halls of the Capitol
You're
building.
right.
It was just that's not. This isn't the Wild Kingdom. We're supposed to be civilized people that hear each other's points and listen to each other. And again, that goes back to like what I was saying about you and I. You know, we can see both sides of it, and once you become educated on both sides and all the people it will affect either direction, that's when you can make a real
You can do the right
decision.
thing always. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but if someone's screaming at you, I mean, how do you react, Fia, when someone's screaming at you?
I just grab him by the pussy. Kidding.
Ooh, man, I'm gonna have to scream at
Made
you
me
next
think
time I'm
about
around you.
Orrin Hatch, like in the elevator. Like some of these
Yeah,
motherfuckers, though, seriously need to be nexted. They do not represent the majority of us, and it's our own fault, I guess.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I think for me, we need to seriously clean out what's going on in
Yeah.
Washington. Like, uh, in New Mexico, we have right now for the Senate race, we've got Martin Heinrich, some guy on the Republican ticket, I don't even know his name, and Gary Johnson on the
Hmm.
Libertarian ticket. Um, and I don't think you lived in New Mexico when Gary Johnson was
No, I
governor.
wasn't. I was in
Um,
Utah.
he was a great governor, though. He was all about fiscal responsibility,
Fairness.
um, fairness. He kept the budget going right. He, I have to say, like when he was governor, my dad was a state cop, so
Oh.
a lot of what he did affected the cops, and he loved
Didn't
him.
someone ask him to
Um,
run? Like that's the whole deal is he was just recently like he
yeah,
said fine, I'll
yeah,
vote for him. I voted for him
yeah,
before for something, probably president. I don't
yeah,
remember, but I
yeah.
like him.
Yeah. No, he's incredibly intelligent. The whole reason we have a lottery scholarship here,
Oh yeah, or we
the New
did,
Mexico
right?
lottery.
Or we don't need more.
I think we still do. I think it's a little less, but essentially because we have bad legislators in the
Right.
state of New Mexico right now that they've pillaged it and
Vote him
and
out
they took it away from college. Yeah, and that's the point. He created it, so it's supposed to pay for college education
for
in the state of New
residents.
Mexico.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, for residents, exactly. And and what ended up happening with it was first off, New Mexico University of New Mexico ended up taking advantage of it, and they ended up just raising the tuition over and over, even though
Wow.
the tuition, it's ridiculous. Like we can talk about them later,
Okay.
but essentially, it got killed by the bureaucracy because all of a sudden the costs are just going up and it's barely covering the tuition for students. Anyway, long story short, that was him though, that he
Huh.
created this great program to get people education, by essentially sin taxing
And we're the
gambling.
poorest, state next to Mississippi,
Yeah,
actually. So,
e- exactly. And so to me, like he is a no brainer for that
oh, cool.
role.
Well,
And
that's exciting. Thanks for telling me.
Martin Heinrich, he hasn't been a bad senator, I don't think, but he's not.
He's not Gary
But
Johnson.
I get. Yeah, he's not Gary Johnson. I get emails from Martin Heinrich, and I feel like he is Democrat, toe the
Mhm.
line 100% of the way. And I also I also read a report about how much money he's taking from like pharmaceutical
Uh,
companies. So I'm like, oh no, you need to leave. So,
well, we
anyways,
all need a good
I
Johnson. It's all right.
but
Boom.
I love it, love it. But so we are at an hour.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to say goodbye.
Yeah, it went so fast today.
But I felt good.
So, yep. So we will have a Facebook.
Yeah, we're going to have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Yep, we're gonna get all set up, and so please subscribe and like our
Yeah,
podcasts,
if you haven't already,
and we will get some more
let
content
us
out
know what you
here.
want to hear about. Chime in.
Definitely. So
I'm
I'm Louie.
I'm Phia.
Yeah.
Till next time.